Hey, North Shore, welcome to the after party. I'm Stan, and this is Lauren.
Hello.
And we're just talking a little bit about our series, Better Rest, and just an overall idea of Sabbath. If you were with us the previous week, Scotty kind of introduced Sabbath as like a general concept and just kind of high-level stuff. And we always knew we would get practical, but along the way, we got a lot of questions that were like, how do you actually do this? And this is really the time where we're starting to talk about how do we actually Sabbath? Like practically, what goes into it? What does it look like? And how does it work with our various stages and circumstances and things that we're going through? And we just wanted to spend a little bit of time talking about our personal experience of just different obstacles and things that we had to overcome and things that we've learned along the way.
Yeah. I love just how practical it was this week. And it just helps people kind of get kind of chewing on a new framework for how to Sabbath. And man, one of the things that resonated with me at the beginning of the message was just that hurried, what do you call it? Hurried sickness. And he talked about the cardiologist. And that's unfortunately me. So my entire life, I mean, probably when I was...
He could have just inserted, Lauren, I'm talking to you right now.
I mean, I'm not a cardiologist, but other than that, he was talking about me. So when I was like in third grade, I would get bad grades in math. My parents would get on me because I would rush through math problems, like just my whole life kind of just been trying to go too fast. And I do like to get a lot of stuff done. And I think that's one of my selling features. That's what people like about me. But then it makes it hard to turn off. And it gets a lot of accolades in this world. And Scotty talked about that a little bit, where last week when he was talking about, you go the extra mile and you're kind of promoted or viewed as better, but really you're violating one of these laws that God has put in place to really protect us from ourselves, So finding a way to turn that off and turn that down for myself has been a work to get that kind of turned off each week. So.
Yeah. And how does that work within a family context? Like, how did you guys do that?
Yeah, it's funny because I work full time now, but I stayed home with our kids for 13 years. Our kids are now old, but when they were little, it's hard. So one of the things we have intentionally always done is a Saturday night date night. Saturday is usually kind of the day of rest for me, especially now that I work at the church. And it sounds like, a Saturday night date night, that sounds good. But I'm telling you, they're not always glamorous. Like it's just takeout on the couch, quiet, even after the kids have gone to bed, things like that. Just intentional time together. I really loved how he talked about things that are refreshing for me, being outside, going on a walk, worship music, silence. Sometimes my thoughts are louder than if I were walking and talking with someone. So it's taken a lot for me to kind of put things into place really as a discipline to say we have to turn off the work mode and move into quiet, more refreshing mode, to be present with my husband especially, but friends, family. He even talked about eating, playing together. Like I love having other people over for dinner. We have fallen out of that a little bit since COVID. And last week in our life group, when we were talking about Sabbathing, I was like, we got to get back into that. Like having other people over is really refreshing for me, and we haven't been doing it. So yeah.
And I think I noticed for myself, Sabbath is one of these things that like you really have to intentionally like work your week around, because it's just so easy for like to get robbed of it, right? Because there's always other things you can be doing. There's things that seem just as important, things that feel like, if I don't do this, then I'll be more stressed this other day. And it's learning to go, no, I have to build my week in such a way that I have this in there, because it won't happen naturally, and it will just slip away. And even just like, I was reflecting on the COVID season, because prior to COVID, I felt like I had a really good kind of Sabbath rhythm that would happen on my day off. And, some like, I don't know, ritual is not the right word, but just like things that I would do consistently as part of my, this is life-giving to me. And then COVID happens and you're kind of in this like, I'm at home. I didn't really go to work, but I worked here. And, I don't know, just, it all just, flows together. And there's no kind of marker of like, this is when I'm being intentional and trying to rest and worship and do life-giving activities. Yeah. And that's a big part of this, is that sort of intentionality.
Yeah. Another thing that came up in our life group that has been a barrier potentially for families is like getting on the same rhythm as the other people in your family, like husband and wife or parent and child, or if you're in college, things just like kind of look at what you're saying, like things just sort of like are amorphous. Like you're working and then you're in class and then you're studying, and it all just seems like one big blah,
Mm-hmm.
And so finding that intentionality to kind of mark out maybe some hours or a block of time where I'm just going to stop those activities and be able to focus on this. And I just loved, he talked about, again, refreshing activities. Sometimes as a parent, you can't be rid of all your responsibilities, but just going to the park with your family
Mm-hmm.
in an unhurried way and enjoying your kids laughing is a way to Sabbath and to carve out time where you're not, as a mom, I was always like, okay, like hurry, get your shoes on. I was like pushing my kids, and just in a way to kind of stop and pause, I think can help.
Yeah. And it's one of those things that is, you make the adjustments, and everyone's different. And like, for myself, like I like to cook. So like making a meal, having people over, those kinds of things, those would be life-giving for me. But, if that creates like a burden on Rosie to then, oh, wow, that's another day I'm not getting a break from, being a mom. It might actually be better for us to like, okay, well, how do we build our budget so we can afford going out or getting takeout or something like that? Or doing something with a group of people where it's like, okay, there's a bunch of adults and they're all kind of sharing the load, but you're with your people. And so you feel like it's restorative.
Yeah.
And so it doesn't always have to be done on your own. It doesn't have to be figured out entirely with you. It doesn't have to be this burden of, okay, now I got to figure out how to like get 24 consecutive hours to do this. It's a gift to us. It's a blessing to us.
Yeah.
And I just think about life groups, you've probably got a mix of personalities. You've got extroverts who would love to spend more time together. You've got introverts who are thinking, I wish all of you were books, whatever it is. But to, even within like a group of people starting to think about, oh, what would a Sabbath look like for us? Would it be going to the park? Would it be having a meal together? Would it even just be like, hey, what if we all like went on a walk together, but it was kind of one of these walks where like, there doesn't have to necessarily be conversation because we're able to be comfortable together, and, we can just, I'm sure when you go on a hike, you're not constantly talking for most situations. It's the ebb and flow of things, and just start dreaming about what our group could be doing to Sabbath together and making it a communal activity.
Yeah.
Well,
all right.
Have a great night. Enjoy your Sabbath.
Yeah.